Okay, here's another common question, something that people ask me a lot. Or rather, they kind of just make a statement. They say, listen, I'm worried about this whole election violence thing that you're talking about. I think people might actually be violent, but not people in my area, not anybody that I know. And that's a really interesting thing because I hear that over and over, and I hear it from people in all different parts of the country. So, first of all, actually, we can't predict. People behave in really surprising ways, and there are some scary things that happen in terms of group dynamics when sudden stuff goes on that we're not prepared for. But you could be right. It's totally possible that you're right, and nothing like that is going to happen where you are. But here's what I want you to think about. If you are so sure that election violence is not going to happen where you are, where is it that you think it's going to happen? Where in the country are you predicting that this happens? Because I hear this all the time, and I hear it from people who live all over the country. I hear it from people who live in rural areas and urban areas and suburban areas. I hear it from people who live in the South. I hear it from people who live in the North. I hear it from people who are all conservatives in their area or all liberals in their area, or who even have moderates, and they're saying, well, it's not going to happen here because we're used to living with each other. It's just a really interesting phenomenon. And I think that what's happening, this thing about like, yes, I'm worried about it, but not where I am, is that we're all observing in media and in wider conversations and in what candidates are saying. We're observing an environment of people that's very angry and very afraid and very full of blame. And everybody is thinking that it's somebody else's fault. And that causes us to fear violence. We get scared about the possibility of violence. But we know that we're not going to be violent. And I'm pretty sure that the people I know personally won't be violent. And the reason I think that is because I know that they don't want violence. I don't want violence. The people I know don't want violence. So we're not going to be violent. So then why is it that so many of us are feeling nervous and angry and we are anticipating the possibility of violence? Who benefits from us thinking that there's going to be violence? And there, I want to talk about the fact that we're living in a fear, anger, blame-based environment that's being built intentionally. Because candidates, all of them, recognize that people who are scared and angry tend to vote for the safest option. So if you can make people feel scared and angry, they will turn out to vote, and they will vote for the option that they believe will keep them the most safe. We don't have to fall for this. We can look around and say, you know what? There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of blame. But I don't actually see all that much fire because I know that I don't want violence and I know that the people around me don't want violence. And so why is it that we're being told that there are scary people out there who want violence? Maybe, possibly, we don't need to be this scared and angry. This is actually just an awful loop, and it's a feedback loop because the more frightened we are about the possibility of violence, the more we have an environment that's going to react to violence with more violence, because that's just how the sociology of the situation works. If we all stand on our 2 feet and we say, I'm not falling for it, I am not going to let this happen in my community, we are going to hold hands together and just decide violence won't happen here. If all of us do that, then our odds of preventing most election violence are actually pretty good. And then the only possibility left is that maybe it's the case that the people where I am don't want violence, but people somewhere else do. And if that's what you're thinking, and that's what a lot of people are thinking, so you're not alone if that's your thought process. Like, I don't want violence, but the people on the other side of the political spectrum, I'm not so sure. I don't want violence, but the people who live in those other parts of the country, I'm not so sure. If that is what you think, then I encourage you to go get to know them and find out if you're right. Just find out if you're right. Have some conversations with the people who are on the opposite side of the political spectrum or live in those other parts of the country. Find out if the ordinary people who fall into that category want violence. Ask for yourself. I don't think they do. The people that I've met don't, all over the political spectrum and all over the country. So ask the questions. Why is it that people are concerned about election violence, but they don't see signs that it's going to happen in their own local area? It's because we are looking at a scary environment, and the scary environment is being built on purpose. Next time we talk to each other, another strategy to prevent election violence, this one is going to be on the topic of election mapping.